Pantazi. I'd like to welcome you to the last in the series of exposés on the Kyusho art. What we're going to do is build on the further curriculum that we've started with all through the prior 16, 17 DVDs so far. This one is basically on compressions of the body. Now, again, I've mentioned throughout the series in little bits here and there that there's different ways to work against different structures of the body. We primarily work on the nerves because they're instant techniques and they're completely dysfunctional. But there is the other aspect that I've mentioned once or twice in prior DVDs as well, is the blood work. Now, we're going to work on doing compressions into the body. If you're in a tight situation, in a grappling situation, for example, you don't have the opportunity all the time to use ballistic force to strike. Okay, and if you don't have the skills of the 6G hands that was on a prior DVD to get in and strike with accuracy and good effect in close range, then maybe you're better adapted for compression techniques, and that's what we're going to cover today. They constrict blood vessels at the same time as they work on nerve capacity as well. So they have a duality in effect. What they do is they have an instantaneous effect, and then they have a longer lasting effect. And I'm going to show you the different techniques basically from grappling situations today and show how you can adapt this phase of Kyusho into your art. To start this out, we're going to work on a pressure point in the cheek called small intestine 18. Small intestine 18 is right up underneath the zygomatic arch. There's a nerve that runs along underneath there that causes extreme pain when pushed. Now, in a grappling situation, I might not be able to strike this or hit him with enough force because we're in tight. But I may be able to slip an elbow right up in there, or I may be able to put a palm up in there some different way, or maybe even just a single knuckle as we're trying to escape. Okay? Now, what this does is it works on the nerve, but there's also blood vessels that it works on as well. Now, I want you to don't take your head up off the ground for this. Now, his head is going to be on the ground for this because of safety factor. Because if his head was up here and I started with a compression here or I just shoved up underneath, his head's going to bang off the floor, and we don't want to do that for just a training video. Okay. What we're going to do is, say you're in a grappling situation, you're trying to vie for a position, and we get right up underneath with the forearm here, or we slip an elbow right in here. Just by doing a little bit of a compression, which is like a strike, it's a short pulse of energy, not from a distance, but with contact and just pushing into it, you can cause further disruption. Okay, so again, if we're messing around here, and I just get him here and cha! Okay. Face the camera. Okay. You can tell by the eyes. You back?
Hello.
Okay, were you conscious while I was sitting you up?
No.
Could you see?
No.
No. Okay, you were just in a space.
Yeah.
Okay, did you know you were awake though? No, no, okay.
I felt the compression and everything, like tunnel vision, just went zoom, right down, closed, and next thing you know, you're smacking me in the back of the neck.
Okay. Now the eyes were fully open, but hopefully on camera you got a shot of him. You could see that he was just gazing. He wasn't focused on anything in particular. And this has an effect on the optic nerve. And just by pushing up in there rapidly, this kind of a compression can cause such a surge of vibration or a neurological message to the brain that other capacities like sight, for example, in his case, or consciousness or hearing, all of these can close down. Now, in a high-stress situation, you've heard from many different martial artists and law enforcement officers that the body goes through a stress period with an adrenaline rush. What happens is you have auditory occlusion where your hearing goes. You have the peripheral vision shuts down on you. Your eyesight goes away. Your muscles are in a fight or flight response, and they lose fine motor skills. So even though you're able to move, okay, it doesn't mean that you're able to do anything in particular. Okay, now, could you hear anything? You weren't even in focus.
Yeah.
This induced so much stress that the body shut down the hearing through the auditory occlusion, the peripheral vision shut down, the fine motor skills. So even though it looked like he was awake and moving, okay, it's very little that he was aware of at that point. Now again, it's a safe technique to use, works excellent in grappling because you don't always have that ability to come in with a good long-range ballistic shot or even a short-range ballistic shot while you're in that tight. And again, with the dynamics of the distancing from here, to get leverage to strike in hard is very difficult. And you'll notice also that you don't have to open your body up, which is where the opponent is able to knock you off or further strike something. So these compressions are going to work especially well in the grappling because you're going to need a base, and I'll explain that in the next segment. Now, we've gone through 5 targets that we use for the compressions. Bear in mind that you could use many different targets on the body. There's places in the legs, the torso, the arms, head and neck area especially, that are sensitive to compression type of knockouts. I just want to show you a small number of these knockouts, the 5 that I had stated before, or I have illustrated before, just so you keep a more maintained focus so you can learn them faster. But again, these same principles of compression will work in many different areas. It's up to your research and your experience to be able to find them. Now, we had small intestine 18 where we could use an elbow or a hand position on the floor. From a standing position, I could have rotated the individual, came from behind and got a choke as it was going for maybe a throat choking type of an action. Or from the frontal position, if I've got my forehead right up underneath, okay, we could take him right up off his feet as well. Now on that one, I supported his head on the way down because what I had done was when I pushed up, I noticed his head jerked back. I didn't want that to be the first thing that hit the floor. Okay, I just pulled up and in and just extended my head right up underneath the cheekbone to get that somatic effect on the individual. Now this one is very difficult to get an autonomic response on, but again, that's not my main concern. My main concern at that point was being able to escalate the fight if I needed to, or better, to escape the situation. So this is just another way to get to the small intestine 18, the nerve runs right up underneath the zygomatic arch, and press up.